Steve, you want to do C?
Yes, sir.
I will do D. And Bill, you want to try E?
I'll do my best.
And John, you want to try a motion?
Sure.
Okay, are there any other items that are of concern to the members of the council having to do with our agenda?
No, sir.
We have 2 people signed up to address council. Anybody else want to sign up? Guess not. Okay. Why don't we then please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Cassini? Mr. Kay?
Present.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Here.
Mr. Spola?
Here we have 4 members present that represents a quorum, and this meeting is now in session. We all have received a copy of the minutes of our last meeting. If there are no changes, additions, corrections, whatever, to these minutes, I'll allow the minutes as delivered to stand. Are there any?
No, sir.
Hearing none, they stand as delivered. Reading of communications. Mayor?
You know, I had a number of communications this time. There are all the people having sinkholes in their yard, stop sign questions. You know what? I gave them all to Joe. And Joe solved every one of them, and I think he should be recognized. He does that a lot for me. You know, they call me, and I said, call Joe, but they want to call me, and they end up with Joe anyways. But I appreciate Joe, you jumped right on and took care of it.
I wonder where all those questions came from.
John?
Just one, and it has to deal with the project on 46. Right there where the creek comes through, they do not have the curbing done yet there. And what's the road that T-bones into that, Neff or Skyline?
Hilltop.
Or Hilltop? No. Hilltop.
Yeah, Hilltop.
Yeah. So there's a concern of, people going off into that creek area, that it's open there. Do we have any idea how long that's going to be exposed like that? Or should we have more barriers around that?
Yeah. Probably get them to put some barrels or something if they're not there.
There's a couple there, but I can see where somebody, if they happen to go off there, they're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah, what they have yet to construct are the 2 wing walls that come off of that culvert and then bring it all up to grade, obviously, and then put the rest of the curb in. So that's work that's yet remaining. I don't know if I have a timeline on that. I assume that might get done.
No.
We can certainly shore it up and check it a little safer if I haven't been over there at night.
I know he was working on that today, so, and I know that he wants to get that curbing done as soon as possible with the weather being as it is.
Yeah, that's a big problem in my mind. You get a good rain between now and that time that's fixed, that's going to erode away that ground there like nobody's business, because it's on the downhill side of the road, and all the water coming down the road against the curb now is going to exit right there. That could be a problem. I think we ought to get on that right away. Steve, anything?
Yeah, I was questioned about the same issue this morning in Rotary, and I didn't have an answer for him too, so we need to address that for sure, Joe. No question.
Well,
That's it.
Okay, I had a call from a gentleman on Glenview having to do with a leaking fire hydrant, and I addressed it with Joe. Apparently, it's in the process of being taken care of.
Yeah, it's actually the valve, the shut-off valve. We replaced the hydrant under our program this year, but it was our valve. They couldn't get a shut-off on the valve, and with the valve open, they can't get it to stop seeping. So we've got to go in, shut the line down between Northview and Glenview, replace the valve, and then that'll stop that.
Okay, Joe, anything?
Yeah, 2 pieces of correspondence. I received a notice from the Department of Commerce that all the liquor licenses within the municipality expire on February 1st of 2014. They notified all of the participants in the city, I guess, that have license, that they have to make a new application by that date. We'll once again have a chance to review those. If there's any we object to at that particular time, we would have the opportunity to do so. We discussed this morning at the staff meeting, and as far as policing or any problems that we've had, there's really been nothing on record. So unless you have something to bring forward, let us know.
Anyone?
When the time comes, we'll be available to address it.
Okay.
And one other item, we did get confirmation from Eastgate. We've got the last phase of North Broad program. Right now it's set up with 80% federal funding and 20% local commitment. As we get closer to the timeline for that project, we can obviously apply for issue 2 or some other funding for that local share and hopefully lessen the cost burden on us. So
And a
it is a
timeline?
program that's in the mix, and it will certainly take its time to get through the process.
And the timeline for doing that is what, Joe?
Right now it's programmed for fiscal year 18, but it depends on the readiness of the project, how much quicker we could pull that in. It's important that we get it on what they call the Transportation Improvement Program, or it's called the TIP, and that's been accomplished.
So we're literally 4 years out to finish the job on 46.
If you take it to the max. You know, like our signalization project was programmed for 15, we're doing that next year. I mean, it depends on how quickly the consultant gets the plans prepared, and as projects get completed, they get pulled down the list. I mean, there's some projects on that tip that have maybe been there for 15 years, like trying to think of some of the bridges that are maybe multi-million-dollar projects that just aren't going to happen until enough money is available, so these other projects get pushed into the mix.
When is it expected that the intersection of Route 11 and 224 is going to be dealt with again?
That's programmed for 15, so I understand that's supposed to go in the fall of next year.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else at the table there? Counselor, you have any?
Communications, no, sir.
Okay. Very good. We'll move on to item 6 on our agenda, reports of committees, boards, and city manager. Mayor?
Well, as you know, last meeting I reported a income of about $5,500 and some dollars, and I'll have another one for you, but I want to tell you that Monday night, Counselor and myself and Ernie were very busy. We had 61 cases, so I don't know what's going on these last 3 months of the year, but hey, I'm looking forward to see what the take was. So it should have been and you know what? There weren't that many traffic cases. There were a lot of misdemeanors. So again, I don't know what it was.
John?
The fire district is pursuing a third location for a station, fire station. This is all to do with lowering the ISO ratings. And so there's been property identified, and we're moving in the direction of seeing the possibility of putting this station in. We're looking at Herbert Road, down the lower part of Herbert Road next to the park. This will help that area with response times. And so if this project is going to move forward, it will probably be 2015, 2016. We've already made steps to put monies away, start to put monies away to save for this project. So that, and the fire district is involved with the lighting of the green, and that's December 6th, I think it is, Joe?
Yes, Friday the 6th.
And if you have not attended that, it's a pretty joyous occasion. There's activities all night. The Rotary sponsors it. There's rides on the wagon. There's festivities that go on, and then of course Santa Claus comes and the trees are lit. And so it's a kickoff for the holiday season, and like I say, the fire district is involved in that. They do bring Santa Claus, so hope to see you there.
One other item regarding the fire district. The fire district, as I announced earlier this year, was involved with taking down a house, a building on 224 across from Giant Eagle. And they had done some training work in that house and were supposed to burn the house down in a training session, but they identified that that house is loaded with asbestos, so they are not going to burn the house down. It will be taken down by some special group that deals with the disposition of asbestos when it comes up. Steve?
Real simply, the design interview met last Monday, and just some real simple items for us involving the new roof and a couple signage issues for rear building. I think it's of really great importance. That's it for my report.
Joe, what do you have to?
Yeah, we have 6 items of legislation to deal with this evening. The first being an ordinance amending Chapter 183 of the Codified Ordinance of the Cities, and this deals with our income tax code. And I credit Councilman Andy Scrivola and the income tax clerk and Mark Fortunato for going through all of the language, updating, bringing it up to the current day standards. And I think we've got everything caught up in there. Some of the items that the state will be dealing with. They're right now going through the process of modifying some of the requirements and some of the conditions that cities can go through with their income tax. But as far as meeting the day-to-day standards and getting it up to today's standards, I think we've done an excellent job in doing so, and I look forward to that passing this evening. We have an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Faust Construction. This deals with a section of curb and gutter on the project, and also the lowering of a water line under that culvert we were talking about earlier. Our Public Works crews have recommended, and I concur with them, is getting valves on both sides of that crossover, because now it's going to be underneath the culvert, and if it does fail at some point in time, we would be able to shut it down and isolate that and not have the whole street out of water. Well, any repairs would have to be made. The next item deals with that particular item, or amending the annual appropriations to include those change order items and also some housekeeping items. We had a reimbursement, a higher amount of reimbursements on income tax, which we hadn't budgeted for, which we need to increase that fund. And we had an unclaimed fund that we contacted the vendor and they said we didn't owe them, so we're closing that out, taking it out. And an item from last year on the sidewalk project we did to preserve, we hadn't closed that out last year, and then we're doing that in this particular ordinance. The next one being an authorization for the city manager to enter into a vehicle lease agreement. And this is something that I discussed with council previously. The Chrysler Corporation is offering a 1-year lease for $0 on a cruiser that we can add to our fleet, and then after the 1 year we would have an opportunity of buying it at the fair market value at that particular time. It's certainly worthwhile to take advantage of it for the 1 year and see where it takes us next year. Lastly, is a motion to waive a portion of the utility charges on property in the city. This was a situation where a resident, I can't explain whether he had a leak or something going on in the house. We calculated the meter charges on that. Had NEF go in and inspect the property. They couldn't find any tampering or anything that was fixed or resolved. Our folks did witness initially the sound of water flowing through the meter. The next day we went out there to do further inspection. Everything was quiet and the meter had stopped, and since that particular time it's been functioning as normal. What I've done is calculated the charges that the city is being charged from Youngstown Water and Mahoney County Sanitary for water and sewer, and came up with a bill covering the city's costs of the water and the sanitary. What's not included in there, and I hadn't picked up on that and was advised by the billing office, was our debt service fee and the stormwater fee, which we calculate and charge on the bills as well. But that is totally up to council whether we want to include that or not. That would be an additional approximately $200 to those figures that were there. But again, the actual losses that we have to pay out would be the cost of the water and the cost of the sewage treatment on that. And that would be my recommendation to settle this particular instance. Other items that we've dealt with, I received a call about a dead tree on private property, and we have an ordinance that addresses that. We had the park arborist go out and take a look at the tree. He determined it to be diseased, and we've notified the property owner. I actually got a call back from the owner today, and he's had one tree service out there already. He's going to have one other and hopes to have it removed in the next 2 weeks. So we got some pretty quick action on that one. And saving the worst for last, I guess. I've already talked to some members of council about this, but we started our 24-inch water line replacement project. And again, the issue there is we had 3 breaks on the 24-inch, all within about 50 foot of each other. Our speculation at first was that we were getting some cathodic reaction from the gas lines that parallel the pipe. We had a testing lab go in there and they ruled that out. So our only other conclusion was that we were looking at maybe a couple bad sections of pipe, because it's ductile iron pipe, which was basically the Cadillac of the industry, and it's certainly supposed to last longer than 20 years, which is all this has been out there. In doing the project, we dug 2 test holes. We were going to insert 2 24-inch valves on each end of the project, isolate the area that we were going to replace. When we dug the first hole, we had the same condition exist where the breaks occurred. There wasn't enough structural section on the pipe to fasten the valves to. So we moved down another couple hundred feet, dug another hole, same thing occurred. We went to the east side towards 220, or the south side towards 224. Again, the same thing occurred. There was just not enough strength of material there to support the connection of the 24-inch valve. I took it one step further. The 4th hole, we went about 1,000 feet to the north to get away from the gas lines as far as we could without getting into the actual running lanes of the freeway. And same thing, we just don't have enough structural integrity in the bottom of the pipe to fasten the valve. Our consultant took some samples, some soil samples, as well as you could actually put your hand under the pipe and pick it apart. And we grabbed some of those samples. We're sending those to the testing lab to see if we can determine what's causing the deterioration. The only thing we don't know is, does it extend beyond Shields Road or the Turnpike area, or the whole 6 miles. I'm going to possibly do a couple other digs, one near the meter pit where we connect to Youngstown over in Austintown, and possibly something on the other side of Shields where we're further away and isolated from any gas lines. If that condition exists in those 2 other locations, we've got a serious situation where we need to start actually begging, because we're looking at a multi-million-dollar project in today's dollars to replace this line.
And more than that, it sounds like if that line has to be replaced in its entirety, which it probably will have to be based on what you just said, what does the city do while that pipe is being replaced?
Yeah, again, we can reactivate the 12-inch coming in from Austintown on 46, which certainly limits the amount of service that we can get to the city, but I mean that's our only connection at this time. Otherwise, what we've done in the past as well is pump from section to section. We can set up hydrants and pump between that section that they're replacing as we go down the line. So there's some means of replacement. But we're looking at options, the cost of possibly relining it, whether the existing pipe will be strong enough to handle a liner is questionable. Looking at possibly doing a bore where you can use continuous roll pipe, and it would shorten the period of time, but again, that's probably more costly. So there's we're trying to get whatever information together as we can. First, we need to isolate and know what exactly our limitations are, or what we have to do, and then in the meantime, we're getting prices on some of the replacements and what it's going to cost. So I hope to have more information available by the next council meeting. I hope it's better news, but it's something you need to be made aware of, and it's a serious, serious situation.
Joe, we better find out what caused the deterioration, because we just put another pipe in and had the same thing happen.
Well, again, moving to a plastic material was what we thought would have solved what the issue was initially. And again, you're right, until we find out exactly what's causing it, we certainly want to make sure we don't put something in the ground that's going to just deteriorate in another 20 years.
You indicated it was only on the bottom portion of the pipe that it would.
Yeah, probably the bottom quarter of the pipe is just almost the bedding, where it's setting in the bedding. The balance of the pipe is almost as like it came out of the shop. There's no flaking, peeling, nothing on it. It leads us to believe it's either an acidic soil condition or water or something getting into the polywrap that it's coated with and laying in the bottom. But we had a very similar situation on the lines that we replaced on Skyline and Callahan last year, the 12-inch section of pipe that's in my office. The same thing, the bottom of the pipe was completely eroded and we kept breaking through with leaks. And again, it might be a product of the soil. There's no gas lines in that particular instance.
Yeah, one of the things that we've heard for years now here in the city is that apparently there's an overabundance of calcium in our water, and it clogs up many residents' piping. So that ought to be looked at while we're doing this situation as well, because if any measure of that has occurred in that pipe, it can be somewhat destructive. Further to the point, do we have any information regarding the contract of purchase of that pipe back 20 years ago? And if we do, is there any kind of warranty, guarantee, or any kind of that language in there?
Well, that's what we're trying to find, those documents. So we found the contract, we have the plans. I haven't found any shop drawings or anything yet that would determine what actual material and who we bought it from. I haven't found that yet.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting, because the pipe is expected to last basically a lifetime.
Right. Yeah, as they say, it was, and it still is today. They consider it one of the Cadillacs of the industry, the Dr. Iron. And I can't explain why it's failed in only 23 years, I believe.
Just what we needed.
Yep. That concludes my report, unless you have other questions.
Counselor?
I don't have a formal report tonight, but I'll take any questions you might have.
Okay. If there's no other reports, we'll move on to the next item of our agenda, which is recognition of persons desiring to appear before council. Mike?
Yes, sir. Mike Kibitza, 262 Fairview. Been out of town the last few meetings, and I just wondered if there's an update on the Fairview Maple Street water project. Pipes flooding.
It's we're going through the issue 2 process now. That project was our #1 priority. Unfortunately, we didn't get funded as a grant. They did announce at the last meeting, and I probably should say this publicly, but the committee was very dysfunctional at the last meeting. But nonetheless, they did announce that there's close to $1 million in loan money available, that people had not submitted projects. So I proposed that we would accept a 100% loan versus a percentage split on the grant if our project would be fortunate enough to get that. That's yet to be determined. They open that door up to any other community as well, and there are some projects ahead of us. If they all take a grant or take the offer on the loan, I think there still would be money to get by the time they get to us with the amount of funding that's available for loans. So there's, I guess, a better than 50% chance that we could end up with a loan on that project. But I won't have that information. We're meeting again on the 6th of it or 7th. What's the next day? The 12th of December.
What committee is that, Joe?
The Ohio Public Works Commission. And they're the ones that have done all, they completed all the ratings of the projects, they assigned the points, and now they're dealing with the funding.
Have they gone through and identified exactly what they would need to do? You know, I know that the Buckeye
As far as
Camp-
having it engineered, no. We've curtailed doing that, because even if we are successful in getting funding, that money wouldn't be available till July of next year, so there would be a window of opportunity to have it engineered.
I really, I'm asking that you guys seriously, put every effort into it. I mean, we never had that issue until they put the new water line in across the street.
It's our #1 priority now, is that so? Good.
What's the estimated cost on that, Joe?
$217,000.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
Right?
Good evening all. I'm Frank McHale. I reside at 220 Glenview. I have a big list of things to talk about tonight. Number one, there were a couple of charter amendments on the last ballot a few weeks ago. One of them having to do with the term limits for the boards and commissions is still pretty much up in the air. There is no final decision on that yet. There's going to be a recount, I understand, but it's pretty close. Another one had to do with the speaking at the boards and commissions meetings. That one is pretty much locked in at a 55% yes and a 45% no. But I'd like to remind council that there was a third charter amendment that I proposed that never did make it to the ballot because it allegedly violated some rules of the council. I still don't understand why a legitimate charter amendment has been deemed secondary to a rule of charter. I would think that a petition to put something on the ballot should take precedence over something that's already on the charter. But that's just my opinion. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I would hope that we can take a look at that again. Apparently there's some sentiment for people to be able to speak at these meetings when there's an issue on the floor. I know we've had a lot of disagreement and discussion about it, but there is, again, some sentiment on the citizenry to do that. Item number 2. It looks like all the leaves are down on the trees this year, but I think they came down early. In my neighborhood, they're pretty much all gone, thankfully. And hope that's true for the rest of the city and give our crews a little break. And lastly, happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, there being no other individuals wanting to address council, we'll move on to the next item, which is old business, and there's none. So we'll move on to item 9, new business, item A. Okay, and with regard to item A, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scobola?
Yes, there are 4 votes in favor, and that motion is approved. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorize reading by title only. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scobola?
Yes, that motion is approved. Mayor?
Mr. Chairperson, I have an ordinance amending Chapter 183 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Canfield. I move for passage of this ordinance.
Do I hear a second? Second. Mr. Rogers. As far as discussion is concerned, there are a number of changes involved, as was mentioned earlier by the city manager in this tax code, but the most significant is that the due date for the City of Canfield's income tax is now April 15th, not April 30th, and that change is mandated to conform with state code dealing with municipal income tax. There are many other changes that will supply our tax department with more information than needed to appropriately deal with the taxes that are individual tax returns that are filed by the residents and businesses of the city of Canfield. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I just wanted to offer an opinion that sometimes we hear about why do we do one reading. Just an example, if we read this ordinance, it would probably take, I don't know how long, it would take forever. Okay, we'd be here until midnight reading this one ordinance. Members of the council got this last week and had ample opportunity to read it over. And if you had questions, call Joe, ask, you know. So that's why you do one reading and all this type of thing. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, well, there again, I think these ordinances are available to everybody, are they not? Right on the table there. Again, if anybody picked that ordinance up and looked at the thing and identified the complexity and would rather have the opportunity to look at that between now and the next meeting of council, all they had to do was ask when they stepped up to the podium. If there being no further discussion, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scavone?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes, and that ordinance is approved, and the number is
2013-37.
37. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 9B. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do we hear a second? Mayor, discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scavone?
Yes, the motion is approved. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorize reading by title only. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scavone?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes, and that motion is approved. John?
Mr. Chairman, I have an ordinance amending ordinance 2013-33 annual appropriation ordinance to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Canfield, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2012. And I move for passage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers. Again, as
Your question, Mayor?
Oh,
It's 2013.
it's wrong on our, it should be 2013.
Yeah, 13, yeah.
Yes.
right,
Can you make that correction?
that's a typo. Okay, again, to further explain the situation, it comes times during the year when certain things pop up, as were explained by Joe earlier in the meeting, and in order to appropriately deal with those from the financial end, we have to adjust our annual appropriation ordinance, and this particular ordinance deals exactly with that. Any other items of discussion? If not, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scavone?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes, and that ordinance is approved, and the number, I take it, is 2013-38. Okay, we'll move on now to item 9C. And again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes and that motion is approved. And again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed ordinance and authorized reading by title only. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes and that motion is approved. Steve?
Mr. President, I have an ordinance providing transfers to various funds. I move for passage of this ordinance.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Kidd. Again, as Joe explained before, appropriating money to be spent is one thing. We dealt with that in the previous ordinance. But making the funds available from the particular funds, cash funds, that will be used to pay for those items is required by this ordinance, which, again, authorizes the transfer of monies from the general fund to a project fund such as the North Broad Street project. And that's what this motion is and how it differs from the previous one. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes and that motion is approved, and I take it the number is 2013-39. Okay? That being the case, we'll move on to the next item of business, 9D. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed ordinance and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, that motion is approved. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, move that council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed ordinance, authorized reading by title only. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, that ordinance is approved. I have an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 for Faust Construction Company, the North Broad Street Safety Upgrade Project Phase 2, and I move for approval. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes. 4 yes votes and that motion, that ordinance is approved, and the number is 2013-40. Okay, we'll now move on to item E. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move the council dispense with the requirement of 2 readings of the proposed resolution and authorize adoption of the same upon its first reading. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes. Again, as per the provisions of section 405 of the Charter of the City of Canfield, I move that council dispense with the requirement of a full reading of the proposed resolution and authorize reading by title only. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Rogers, discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, that motion is approved. Dan?
Yes, Mr. Chairperson, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a vehicle lease agreement. I move for passage of this resolution.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Morvay. As explained before by Joe, this is a really unique situation by a automobile dealer offering a lease of a vehicle for our police department at 0 cost to the city for a year, with the possibility of acquiring that at fair value after a year. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morbe?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Severino?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes, and that resolution is passed, and the number is?
13-11.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 9F. John, this is a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to waive a portion of the utility charges upon inspection of property. And I move for passage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, again, this is, as explained by Joe and talked about earlier in the session, a motion to deal with a high utility bill, water bill experienced by one of our residents here in town. Any further discussion?
We need to do title-only motion on that. We need to do a title-only motion on that, not one reading, but title only.
Okay, either that or read it, right?
Either that or read it.
Do you want me to just read it?
Yeah, why don't you read it? I'm going to tell you why it gives a further explanation.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to waive a portion of the utility charges upon inspection of property. Whereas a resident of the city of Canfield has asked City Council to waive a portion of the water and sewer bill which has been sent to the resident. And whereas City Council has exclusive authority to waive utility service charges, and whereas upon inspection of the subject residence, City Council has determined that the subject billing should be adjusted. Now, therefore, be it moved by Council of the City of Canfield, Ohio, Section 1, that the resident at 150 Pinecone Drive be responsible for $2,043.42 of the billing statement for the period from February 14, 2013 to May 31st, 2013, in the $552.03 of the billing statement for the period from May 31st, 2013 to August 8, 2013. Section 2, that all other charges reflected on such billing statement be waived. Section 3, that this motion and all deliberation relating to the passage of this motion were held in open meetings of this council, all pursuant to Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code and Section 3.11 of the Charter of the Municipality of Canfield. And I move for passage.
Okay, do we hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Kay. Okay, any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Kay?
Yes.
Mr. Morvay?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Scabolo?
Yes, there are 4 yes votes, and that motion is approved, and the number is
2013-12.
12. Thank you. Okay, we're now at that point in our agenda where we'll offer comments from council members. We'll start with you, Mayor.
Yes, just to say, it would be better to leave people wondering why you didn't talk than why you did.
Great statement. John?
I need to visit this, and this is about the passages of the charter amendments that were on the ballot. And I understand that we did this because perhaps we have a good old boy network here. But the truth is, we've just created a slipperier slope than what we had. Because if you think about it, councilmen are here for now 4 years. So Joe handed me this paper tonight and said, we need to find people for these boards. Now, I'm only here for 2 years or 4 years, and if I had an agenda, it'd be a perfect time to get my friends in here to do what we needed to do on the boards, and then we're gone. So I would recommend that we look at this and we have a committee set up to find people that are willing and eligible to serve on these committees. And I have a perfect person sitting in the audience that could probably be the chairperson of that committee. And I would recommend Frank McKee for that position. And that this committee be set up to find people, because the truth is, it's going to be very hard to fill these positions. And if you allow us to do it, we could be creating a situation where we are appointing people to get agendas done and get out. And with that, just happy Thanksgiving, and
Can I just add something to that? That they are clearly your appointments, though. I mean, you could seek recommendations, but they're your appointments.
And we've also asked Joe to advertise it in the Crier and perhaps on the local TV station, so people have an opportunity to apply. So we hope they would send in a resume. The committee, whatever they could consider these.
would it be our responsibility, or not our responsibility, but if we wanted to set up some sort of a committee to identify people?
Sure, you could do that, but at the end of the day, they're your appointments.
Yeah, but they're only recommendations. And I have to say that, you know, if those in the community think that this is a good old boys routine and that we have appointed good old boys to these committees, what would be the difference between us doing the job and the committee doing the same thing? Steve?
I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was, believe it or not, on the West Coast to join the Sun at a convention, so I'm sorry I wasn't here for that too, but I want to congratulate Mr. Kosar. I'm glad to see you here tonight too also. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse to the ground. John, you talked about that too also, but I just want to make a note that we have had some good people that have served on council and boards for quite a long period of time and done a great job. And one person I can speak of right now, and again, I'll spotlight Andy for one. The fire board, fire district probably wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for Randy Scribble. And I know it's a big thing to say, but for his knowledge, what he's done for this district, and his knowledge, and not only the fire board, but the city council too. The hundreds of hours that this man has put in, given to this city. The hundreds and hundreds of hours this man has given. And listen, I'm sorry, I have to say it. It's just unbelievable. And I'm saying he's one of many people that have worked on council and on these committees and given themselves a lot of time and effort over the years. And they should be noted for that. And that's very important right now that we mention that. It's very important. And I didn't mean to really spotlight you like I did, but I mean to, but you're just one person of many here that have done a lot for this community.
You know,
giving back.
There's one thing that's really important, okay? The word team doesn't have the word I in it. We did it together, okay?
Well, that's well said.
Everybody participated in doing what's done, okay?
Well said.
But when you weaken the rope that I described here at one point in time, things don't come out the right way in the event. And our rope is now weakened as a result of what it is that's taken place.
I concur.
We are now in the search for a half a dozen new committee members. And we've got literally before the end of December, within which time we appoint these people, time to find those. Well, contrary to a lot of people's thinking, there isn't a lineup of people outside the door waiting to take these positions, as is evidenced by our last election, okay? That's not the case. That puts the city in a very vulnerable position. In one committee, we have just barely will have a quorum because of the lack of people at this point in time coming forward and wanting to be on that committee. We have basically 6 weeks to do the job. And do you think in 6 weeks you can find those individuals that are qualified and experienced enough in these committees to take on those responsibilities? It's not easy. But again, what's been done in this city for the last 9 years is the result of teamwork. And our team just got nailed in the back a bit. Hopefully we can overcome that, okay? And pick up and run with the ball in a better way. We do have some serious problems with regard to an earlier charter amendment that, again, will cause the city very much trouble and expense going forward to fix that. But then again, we've got to remain a team. We've got to be able to put together those folks, the kind of which have been doing this job for years, and continue the effort. Without it, we're going to be somewhat short. And until we get back to that stature, it'll hurt the city more and more.
Just your last comment. You know, I've seen it now for the last month or so, keep talking about these charter members. It's over with, it's voted on, it's accepted, so let's bury it, all right? And let that puppy sleep, and let's not have any more comments on it.
Except one thing, Bill, okay? The consequences of that is what I'm talking about. If the people wanted it to be that way, fine. But, and I have no trouble with that whatsoever. But one thing is that the consequences now are, again, serving to have a negative impact until they're cured. And we don't need that on a regular basis.
Well, whether I agree or don't agree, whatever, we've talked about this now for last month and this month over and over and over. To the point, I'm getting tired of hearing about it, you know?
Yeah.
It is. Charter amendments have passed, and they're there, okay? And we gotta move forward.
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, I know we might have 100 applicants.
But again, in order for those individuals that deal with that, they have to understand what the consequences are. And sometimes you don't deal with those sufficiently enough before you go to the polls and vote. And now we're identifying what those consequences are. Okay? In the meantime, all that said and done, Thanksgiving is coming up in a week or so, and I wish everybody here and the community happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your family. Meeting stands adjourned.